is what do I need to know? What translates to me handicapping this golf tournament successfully and understanding what the course is going to ask some of the best players in the world for the U.S. Open? That's all I'm going to give you today. None of the fluff, none of the long historical context, blah, blah, blah. Fuck that. We don't want that, okay? It's a George Thomas design. There you go. You know that. He also designed Riv. He designed Bel Air, some other places. Who cares? This place plays nothing like Riviera, nothing like Riviera Country Club. Gil Hanse and Jeff Shackelford did do a renovation a few years back, but very little Riviera similarity. Basically, according to my research, I think it's a little bit of Augusta. It's got a little bit of Southern Hills to me, last year's host site of the PGA Championship, and it's a little Shinnecock. There's a little bit of Shinnecock running through the veins of LACC. What I love about this course, apparently, is I think it's actually going to present something that we've not seen in a U.S. Open course, at least comprehensively. Like, we've not seen it. We've seen pieces of it at certain host sites in years past, but I think LACC is going to play a little different, to be honest with you. And I think that's going to be interesting from a handicapping scenario. I'm excited about it. A couple of basics you need to know. There is no Kikuyu grass and no POA here. So for handicapping purposes, if you think about a West Coast golf course, you're used to dealing with POA putting surfaces. You're used to dealing with Kikuyu rough and fairway, whatever. We don't have any of that. This place is like, it's Bermuda everywhere but the greens is a bent grass. But everything I hear from people already on the golf course, from caddies we've talked to, the bent grass is not like exactly like the bent grass in the Northeast, but that it just rolls pure as shit. It's just pure. So it's just pure putting, whatever. No grain, no nothing, just pure, beautiful, fast, firm putting. The fairways, the rough is going to be Bermuda. The rough's probably going to be a little down from what we've already seen. If you look at flyovers, I'll show you that in a minute. They don't really, this isn't like US Open, like, forearm high, wiener long rough. It's just not. It's going to be a little different. It's a bigger golf course. The fairways are wider than typical US Open layouts. But here's what I'll say. So let's talk about off the tee. All right. I'm skipping around because whatever. Off the tee, fairways are wider than normal. There's some really wide fairways here. This is not wing foot, really narrow fairways, rough. This is really wide fairways. However, what Gil Hanse is trying to do, and what he tried to do here, is make it so that, yes, the fairways are wide, but there are lanes of the fairways. Maybe that's the left side. Maybe it's the right side. Maybe it's right down the friggin' middle. Because there's also a lot of slope and terrain movement. There's a lot of banks and stuff in these fairways. That's where I kind of draw the Augusta similarity. But with that, effectively, the fairways aren't quite as wide because you have these slopes, you have these runoffs, and you need to be in a certain position on the fairway to give yourself the best approach into some very interesting, firm greens. And some of them are blind tee shots if you don't put yourself in the right spot. So there's going to be some fairways. You have the Barranca. Take a shot every time you hear the word Barranca, and you won't make it through the first hour of the live coverage on Thursday morning. You will be dead from alcohol intoxication, death, whatever that will be the official signal of your death. Barranca will be talked about a lot, but it's like, to me, it just looks like native. It's like LA native area. I don't know. I mean, are there homeless people in tents camped out around here? Could possibly be one. One or two in there. But you don't know what you're going to get with Barranca area. You could get some sand. You could get a little tuft of grass. Your ball's sitting on nice, like on a little teat, like a little Playboy bunny tit right there. The Playboy bunny mansion or whatever is right on the golf course here, apparently. So it could be one of those. It could be rock. It could be dead. You don't know. So the Barranca is in play on a lot of these holes. It runs throughout the property, but it definitely brings in a lot of variance. The bunkers. Okay, the bunkers or whatever, guys are going to be begging the ball to get in the bunker because the areas around the bunkers, they've given it this real old look that I love, and they did it by doing a bunch of science with grass. And, I don't understand grass science, don't care. Don't care about the agronomy and we use the tall fescue here and a wide fescue here and your mama's bent grass over here and, Uncle Jimmy's weed over here. I don't know. I don't know how they did it, don't care, but it gives it this very rough look, like old looking feel. And if a ball gets if it gets hung up on an improper lie there, you don't want that. Guys are going to be begging the ball to actually funnel into the bunkers when they're hitting into these greens and these fairways. And as a result of that and of the Barranca and just the firm and fast and the speed that I think we're going to see on this golf course, remember, variance, baby. Now, that may mean a lot more if you're a DFS player. But what we see in typical US Opens and what I think we're going to see here is variance. There will be big names that screw up. There will be big names that don't. There will be names that come out of nowhere and play fine. With the variance, the Barranca, the bunkers, all that stuff, you're going to get that. You're just going to. So embrace it. It's top 60 in ties make the cut here. So for DFS, very low, 6 of 6 percentage. So get some leverage and don't be afraid to be really weird. And don't be afraid to fade some big names. You're going to have to. You can't play them all, right? We say that every week. But the variance is going to be there. There are five par threes here. Actually, let me just do this because you're probably tired of looking at me. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to show you the flyover. I want to show you the flyover. Let's go to US Open. So I'm just going to play this while I'm talking to you. Oh, it's on. Yeah, I want to put it on mute. All right, so I'm just going to play it while I'm talking to you. And you can go watch this. I recommend you, if you want to, you can go, if you want to get more detailed. But it's a flyover of all 18 holes here at LACC done by the USGA. But while I'm talking, I'll give you a little, this will help you out. There are 5 par threes here and 3 par fives. Typically par threes have the closest scoring average. They tend to be the more difficult holes for pros, more so than par fours, definitely more so than par fives. I think that's actually how they're going to keep the scoring at bay here a little bit. I do think, because I think a couple of the par fives are gettable. The first hole is a definite George Thomas handshake, slap you on the rear. Now you feel special, have your birdie, and get ready to buckle up, Buttercup kind of situation. But then there's another par five on the course that also seems gettable. But then there's another one that's a beast, and I think that's going to be a 3-shot hole for a lot of players. So like what we've seen in recent U.S. Opens, winning score in that 6 to 7 under situation is probably what we're looking at. And I think the par threes are going to keep a lot of that at bay. And people are going to wig the freak out over these 2 par threes that are over 280 yards. Oh my God, what are we doing? Roll the ball back. Listen, par is relative, first of all, so calm down. Par is relative. Everybody's playing the same hole. It's a par 3.5. That's what George Thomas wanted. But because of the firm and fast conditions, because of a lot of variety that the USGA can use with tee boxes and pin positions into some of those deep greens, the yardage can fluctuate a lot. There's some runway areas leading up to the par threes. Both the greens are open on those 2 big ones, so you can, you're probably flying at 240, 250, maybe 230. Which they do that on the PGA Tour all the time. So I actually think the effective yardage, and that's something I want to say as a whole. I'm already seeing people post on Twitter that this is bomber's paradise, blah, blah, blah. The effective yardage, I actually think, is going to be much, much less than what we're reading on the card. Distance is always an advantage, yes, number one. But I actually think that this might be a U.S. Open where distance is less of a requirement than we've seen in the last few years because of the firm and fast conditions. The weather looks to be perfect in LA. It's already been dry in LA in the last month or so. There's no rain predicted. We're going to get great weather for this. And the USGA wants this place, and I'm sure the people at LACC want this place to be firm and fast, and it appears like it will be, which definitely allows for shorter players to contend. Unlike some place like Oak Hill, I think this is going to be more of a mid-iron test. Are you going to have to hit some long irons? Yes. How about into those 2 par threes I just talked about? Yes, you're going to have to hit some long irons. But I think it's more of a mid-iron and even wedge, like short iron wedge situation based on the firm and fast conditions, which will allow anyone to kind of compete. You don't have to be, a guy named Cam, Davis, Champ, Young, whatever. You don't have to be one of those guys. You don't have to hit it so freaking far. And so with that, I would say, like, for DFS purposes, this could be an opportunity to kind of skill set stack, right? Especially, again, go back to the variance. You could skill set stack some lineups. What I mean by that is, like, what if you played a lineup where the all 6 members of your team, or maybe 5 of your 6 members in your DraftKings team, are known for precision, accuracy type stuff. Now, we want them to arrive to the US Open in a semblance of form, but I'm talking like guys like Denny McCarthy, guys like that who aren't necessarily going to bomb it, but they're just very accurate. And Denny's played well in the U.S. Open before. So I'm saying that's one thing. Now, and then do another team with bombers. You could definitely do that. I think all in all, off the tee, it's going to be a total driving thing. Long and straight is great, but average and straight is probably also good enough, is what I'm saying. Short game is going to be key here too. Strokes gain around the green, and being able to chip from both tight lies and some thicker rough, especially if you get hung up in one of these bunker areas. But I do think short game is obviously going to matter. I mean, greens and regulation numbers on a firm and fast golf course with some of these greens and some of these undulations on these greens and regulation is going to be down. It's going to be way down than what we're used to seeing on an average PGA Tour event. So being able to scramble is going to be extremely important. Like I said, I do think there's some birdie opportunities on the golf course. I think other than the 2 par 5s I mentioned, there's a couple short par 4s that are going to be really quirky and interesting to see. I think you're going to see birdies. I just think there are also some holes, and with the variance, with the bunker surrounds and the Barranca, where doubles, triples, and quads are also very much in play, which is going to be a lot of fun to watch. Yes, you're going to hear about a couple things. Max Homa holds the course record here of 61 from the 2013 Pac-10 Championship. So you're going to hear about that. Great. Okay. So yeah, congratulations. All right, I'm going to stop sharing the. You've seen the first 9 holes on the flyover. So Max Homa course record 61 from 2013. Cool. Great. Got it. Yep. Also, LACC hosted the 2017 Walker Cup, which featured Doug Gim, Maverick McNeely, Colin Morikawa, Will Zalatoris, who's not here, and Scotty Scheffler. Doug Gim cruised to 4-0 along with Colin Morikawa and Mav McNeely. So great for them. I think the only person that played it, Doc Redman also played. Oh, that's interesting. Cam Champ was here. Robert McIntyre was on the Great Britain and Ireland side. He was here. Anybody else? Doc Redman. Alfie Plant. That's a throwback. Anyway, so that's what you're getting. It's a par 70, 7,400 yards. But like I said, I think effectively it's going to play much shorter than that. Now, there's some holes that also play into the wind, into the prevailing wind here, but there's not going to be a ton of that. I think that's the biggest thing to remember. Remember the variance. Remember the variance of a U.S. Open in general. But, when we've had past champs here in the last few years of Matt Fitzpatrick, John Rahm, Bryson DeChambeau, Gary Woodland, Brooks Koepka, DJ, Jordan Spieth. Those are your U.S. Open winners since 2015. It is not likely that someone who sits outside the top 30 in the world is going to win this thing, even with the variance. It's just not likely. So we have to remember that when we're betting outright. We have to remember that as we're constructing lineups. I mean, obviously, you're not going to have everybody in there, everybody who's really good in your lineup in a DFS contest, but the cream will still rise to the top despite the variance. It's just be prepared for some of the cream to go bad and moldy and be gross, and you're going to be pissed at it. So that's what I'm saying. I'm really excited about LACC. Check out the other content over on the Tour Junkies side. Listen, join our friends at SoBet. They've got a great deal going for Tour Junkies. So when you use our promo code, you actually get a better deal than what I'm showing you here on the screen. If you use promo code TJ, you get 6-month access, which takes you into the NFL season for only $39 for the whole 6 months. And it is an incredible value if you're betting on any sport. It's also the home of our exclusive round robin that we put only on SoBet every week, which is up 9 units in just about 4 or 5 weeks. And we're looking really good this week for the Canadian Open. Crossing my fingers that works out as I'm recording this on Saturday of the Canadian Open. But you're gonna want to check out SoBet for sure. There's a link in the description of the podcast, so do that. I mean, if you don't know, it's basically curated content for bettors on any sport, but the people who are posting to SoBet have to be verified through SoBet as legitimate handicappers who know what they're doing in their sport, and there's full transparency. This is not the wild, wild west of Twitter where anybody can say I'm good at betting and they actually suck. So, you get to kind of see bets like my boy Gutsy here. You get to see their bets every week, every day that they post. They give you the reasons for the post. They give you how many units they're going to play, and then they're going to follow up and tell you whether they won or lost. So there is full transparency on the platform. And again, for any sport, it's out there on SoBet. My boy Pick'empedia has been really hot lately. So it's just a great platform. Check it out. Promo code TJ. Use the description below. Gets you that 6 months for only $39. Obviously, we've got a bunch of content coming out this week. Check out the shows. We're going to have some fun with the DFS show, I think. with Oscar categories of players here for picking names at the U.S. Open. It's going to be a good one. Enjoy the week. May your screens be green and bend over your bookie.